Okay, so this is a video on solving quadratics by taking the square root. If you search that exactly in Khan Academy, you'll come up with problems similar to the two that we're going to work in this video. Now what we're trying to do is we're trying to solve quadratic equations similar to this one. Okay? Now the goal is to get x by itself, but since this is a second degree polynomial, we're probably going to have two answers. Okay, so the first thing I would do, let me rewrite it. X minus 8 squared minus 9 equals 0. So the first step is I'm going to try to isolate the x minus 8 squared. So the portion that's squared, I'm going to try to get it by itself. So I will add 9 on both sides. And so I have x minus 8 squared equals 9. And now I need to get rid of this squared, okay? Well, to get rid of something in equations, you do the opposite. For example, I had minus 9 here, so I added 9 on both sides. The opposite of a minus 9 is a positive 9. Okay, on this portion, I'm trying to get rid of a squared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square root both sides. The opposite of squared is square root, okay? And so when I do that, what I'm left with is x minus 8 equals, see, the squared and the square root offset each other, and so all that's left is the x minus 8. Now, the square root of 9 is 3, but the square root of 9 is also negative 3, okay? And here's why, all right? So the square root of 9 means what times what will give me 9 that's the same? Well, 3 times 3 gives me 9. But also, negative 3 times negative 3 will give me 9. So I wrote the first equation. I'm going to write another one. X minus 8 equals negative 3. Okay? So the reason I have two equations is because the square root of 9 right here is 3. But the square root of 9 right here is also negative 3. So now I'll solve each equation. So I'll add 8 on both sides. And so I have x equals 11. And I'll add 8 on both sides here. And so x equals 5. And so those are my two answers. Now let's review. Why did I get two answers? Well, this is a second degree polynomial, which means you'll either get two answers as a maximum, max of two answers, but you might only get one or none. And so my two answers are 11, so I'll put 11 here, and I'll put 8 here. I'm sorry, I don't know why I wrote 8. I'm not going to put 8 here. My answer was 5, and I don't know why I said 8. So I got 11, and here's my 11, and I'm going to put 5. That's my other answer, 11 and 5. Okay, so here's just another example, and what this one says is determine where f of x intersects the x-axis. Okay, now what that means is basically that's taking the f of x and putting 0 for it. So if I have x plus 5 all squared minus 25, when I take my function right here and set it equal to 0, the solutions are the intersection on the x-axis. So now to solve this equation, I first need to isolate the x plus 5 squared. So I'm going to take this 25 and I'm going to add it to both sides, here and here. And so I have 25 equals x plus 5 all squared. All right. Now, how do I get rid of the squared? I square root both sides, right? And so what I have here is the square root of 25 is 5, and it's also negative 5. So I have 5 equals x plus 5. And why did the squared and the square root go away? Because they're opposite, and so all that's left is x plus 5. And the square root of 25 is also negative 5 equals x plus 5. Okay, and so now all I have to do is solve both of these equations. Subtract 5 on both sides here. And so x equals 0, or I could have said 0 equals x. Both mean the same thing. All right, the second one I'll subtract 5 on both sides. and I get negative 10 equals x, which is the same thing as x equals negative 10. So my two solutions are negative 10 and 0.